You know him from the Smiley Morning Show. Now he's got his own show. Radio Theology is on ZPL. Here's Pub Pastor Daron.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. It's time for Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music, brought to you from my closet. Oh my gosh, guys! It's Pastor Daron Early Wine here with Ryan and Lisa, and guys, we are getting as creative as possible. Thank God for technology, but we are actually recording this in our closets at our house, so it at least kind of sounds like a studio. What is happening in the world?
We're all isolating, and I saw a meme recently that you're not stuck at home, you're safe at home.
You know what? All right, I saw that same one, and it did actually, I will admit, it changed my perspective on things.
That's good.
Did it, though? Did it?
Well, for that moment, just for a few moments at least, I was like, you're right. I'm happy this is happening. But you know what? It is something I think that we've got to choose, I think, what we're filling our minds with. And I think I'm stoked that we're able to be with you this morning on Radio Theology and be your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Because, guys, it's if you're not choosing to find some good news, because there is good news out there, a steady diet of bad is bad. That's the most profound thing I've ever said in my life.
Yes, it is.
A steady diet of bad is bad. So here's what I want to do. I want to start the show off this morning, and I just want us to throw out some good news stories that we've heard, because we're going to find the positive this morning on Radio Theology. Who wants to go first? Who's got a positive story?
Well, I'm a huge fan of The Office, which I think if anyone knows me, they know is a huge understatement. But John Krasinski, so that's Jim from The Office, he started a podcast called Some Good News. And so he's asking people to send him all of this good news that they find, and then he's interviewing these people. And it's gotten millions and millions of views because everybody is hungry for all of this good news. But one of my favorite segments that he did was he called Steve Carell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my heart just exploded. So I love that.
Yeah, I've loved all the artists that have been doing at-home concerts. Obviously, they had that iHeart last week, that iHeart concert, couch concert for good or whatever it was. I saw earlier this week, Garth Brooks and his wife Trisha Yearwood. They did a cool at-home concert, and I mean that's what artists have been doing, which is great. And here on Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music, we want to highlight what some artists are doing. But in this community, there's been some great things. I've been inspired by seeing churches all over the city who have been collecting money to, whether it's to buy N95 masks for healthcare workers, or even providing extra food for kids that are at home. And I think it's just been cool. This is in some ways the worst of times, but in some ways we're seeing some of the best of people, which I think is great.
Yeah, I saw a story online of a young girl. Actually, I think John Krasinski interviewed her on his new, I don't even know if it's a podcast. I think it's just him in his office with his phone on. But she had just completed her last round of chemo. And her neighborhood just greeted her as she was coming back from the hospital after her her last round of treatment. And just everybody was hanging out of windows with signs and clapping and honking horns and singing songs. And the video is so sweet. Someone in the back seat of the car that's driving her home was taking it. And just her reaction when she saw all of her neighbors greeting her and celebrating her was so precious, man. She just burst into these tears of joy. And it was just so cool to see that, we're geographically separated from one another, but we're still in this together.
Absolutely, Ryan. And I think, this morning, take some time. And one thing I love about following Jesus is that he's really, really creative. And he has a creative idea that he might let you borrow actually this week to do something loving, to do something compassionate for someone around you. We need each other in this time. Let's get creative. Let's get compassionate. And hang out with us all morning right here. It's Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. We tell you this every single week, and now more than ever, it makes a difference that God is near you, not far away. And man, do we need to hear that this morning on Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron Early Wine here with Ryan and Lisa. And guys, I tell you what, I feel pretty alone. I've had to remind myself over and over again that God is actually near us in this coronavirus quarantine. How are you guys holding up with that truth?
I'm kind of on the struggle bus, if I'm being honest about it. In a house full of people, granted, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and a husband, but I have never felt more alone than I felt right now in this season.
You're a hugger too, Lisa. You need people
man.
around you.
All the
You're a
people.
physical touch, love language.
I'm very high maintenance, okay? And Corona is not letting me get what I need.
Yeah, I've been doing okay. There are definitely pockets of losing my mind. I'm learning that it's okay to feel stressed at times because this is all of our first global pandemic that we're living through. And so in that sense, I feel like there's this overabundance of grace. Like there might be a shortage on toilet paper, but there is a surplus of grace.
That's a great point, Ryan.
Well done.
I mean, where do you guys? I mean, we say it every week, right? And I think that's, I guess, where our faith really kicks in. Or there's things that we say, and then how do we actually believe it? And we say every week, right, that God's near you, not far from you. But easy to say, but I think sometimes it feels like tough to experience in moments like this. What does that look like? What does that look like for you guys to notice that God is near? Because here's what I've figured out is it's been very easy for me to notice and to sense God's nearness. But what I'm noticing a ton of it is that I'm just not really choosing it because I'm still kind of trying to figure out, can I fix this or how long is this going to last? And I'm more in my mind thinking about this than I am really, I guess, kind of trusting God with it, with my heart, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm with you too. I could say the right answer because I know that he's here and I know that I have felt him and his presence and all of that stuff. But it's been harder to hear him and to feel like that's actually making a difference. Because I feel like when I'm out and about and doing the things and interacting with people and all of that stuff, that's how he's created me to be. And so that's how he's using me best. But it's just kind of a mind shift of, okay, he's here. He's got plans for me in this season. What does that look like? Instead of what do I really want it to look like?
That's good. Yeah, I've been wondering if after all this passes, whether I'm going to just go back to the old habits that I don't want to admit are there, that are kind of, I'm noticing even more and more that God's revealing to me like, hey, here are some tendencies or some ways that you tend to live when you're under stress. And in many ways, like I've become more disciplined in certain things and then really lax in others. And so, it's been interesting to see what God has been showing me, kind of holding up a mirror and saying, not with judgment, but just with truth, and saying like, here's what is actually happening. And so it's been an interesting season, man.
Let's talk about that. Let's take a break with this song and calm ourselves, and then come back and let's talk about that mirror. I love that idea, Ryan, that in a lot of ways that I think suffering because this is like, I don't want to make light of it. This is a time of suffering. Even if you don't have the coronavirus, if you have it, obviously that's massive suffering that in a whole different way. But just getting through it. And oftentimes I think suffering is a mirror that shows us a lot about ourselves. Sometimes it shows us the good. Unfortunately, the bad's there too. Let's talk about where God is at in that process. Coming up next right here on Radio Theology. Welcome back to Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron Early Wine here with Ryan and Lisa. And guys, you ever open your phone, like the camera app on your phone, and you're trying to take a picture, but it's accidentally turned around at you?
Oh,
and it's like the worst picture of all time.
Yes, like
I didn't know I had 47 chins.
Yes.
What troll under a bridge is this?
Yes.
Oh, it's brutal.
You're laying there on your couch, you've not moved for 6 hours, and all of a sudden you get a selfie of yourself up your nose, 16 chins. Those are scary moments. And I tell you what else is scary. We just talked about, Ryan, you made a statement a minute ago about that this quarantine, it's like the suffering of it, if you'll put it that way, is kind of like a mirror of you're getting to see yourself process through this in a way where there's some good, but you're noticing some things where it's like, oh gosh, those habits or those whatever or those attitudes, like suffering can be a mirror, and sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's one of those accidental up the nose selfies, right?
Yeah, and up the nose selfies. That's such a great idea. And I just want to go on record and say, like, suffering compared to what some people are actually going through in this season, like, actually what I've got is, these are things that annoy you because they've taken away the luxuries that you enjoy, the conveniences that you tend to dabble in, none of us are infected. We've got roofs over our head. We've got healthy families. But for me, it's like, it's just God just kind of nudging me and saying, hey, do you see what I see? And
Wow,
I'm not beating you over the head with this, but it's an invitation, which is really cool. And I think that's part of God's character, where he says, listen, I don't have to show you this. I want to show you this, though. And then I don't want you to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps or like get yourself together. I want you to allow me to help you in this journey of moving towards growth and health.
Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa, talking about the idea that this season can be a mirror. And it shows us an image of ourselves, I think, that's very real time. I love what you're saying, Ryan. And we say here on the show all the time that God is for you, not against you, that he's near you, not far from you. And one thing that I have actually noticed, in the same way, Ryan, we were saying it's an invitation, is I have noticed that God's been very near to me. And sometimes what I notice is, as I'm kind of looking in this proverbial mirror, I notice that he's standing there with me, right? Like, he's with me in that moment. And like you're saying, he's not freaked out. He's not judging me. There's always grace in every moment, but especially moments like this. And it's actually comforting to be able to see some of those negative traits and realize that he's not mad. He's not, punishing me or in the moments, but he's actually in the reflection with me, helping me process through it.
Can you guys give an example of what you see when you look at the mirror, something that you're working on right now?
Well, one, I just need to shave. Yeah, I think for me, it's, I think the core of selfishness of, I want everyone to be patient with me, but I just kind of want to bulldoze and control and, sometimes by force, just push my desire, my agenda. Whether it's, what are we doing in this hour together as a family? I'm also seeing like how I escape when I can't really go anywhere. What do I turn to? Like, where do I turn? And so, again, though, Daron, to your point, like, God isn't beating me over the head with judgment when he sees that.
Right.
He's opening up my eyes to see exactly what he has already seen. And again, inviting me towards health.
Do you find yourself dreaming about Zoom calls and live streams? Well, Ryan does. Let's talk about it. Right here on Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa. Ryan, you were literally in a dream, sleep talking on a Zoom call. What's happening?
Yeah, man. So I had a live stream virtual show the other night on Facebook Live.
You've been doing those a couple times a week, right?
Yeah, Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm calling it Total Ryan Live, like Total Request Live. They're super fun. Like, tons of people are showing up. We're all glued to our phones anyway. Why not make some music? And my wife told me this morning that I was talking in my sleep like I was conducting the live stream content. Like I was addressing comments that no one was making. She was like, yeah, you were saying things like, okay, guys, I need to be quiet. I can't wake up Lauren right now. Oh, okay, I'll play that song for you. Sure. And she was like, it was super weird. Like, I just had this live stream comment feed in my brain in my dream that I was replying to.
Yeah, I've loved the live streams you've been doing, but man, it is so weird that this has become this new normal where, like, I feel like my home office is like a cage. Like, I'm just there off like all day just live streaming. I've gotten to the end of my day now where I almost don't want to be on my phone because I've like been on my phone or in front of my, computer screen all day long doing live streams or Zoom calls or whatever. I'm just I haven't dreamt about it yet, but it's getting weird. It's Radio Theology.
It gets even weirder, let me tell you.
Yeah, Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. And Lisa, can you tell when you're on a Zoom call or what's real life? I mean, does it feel like you're in some kind of la-la land?
It is. It's like my whole life is a Zoom call. When's too much? It might be too much if you're at the end of the day going, oh, I don't even look at my phone.
You know what? I wonder when we get done with this if we're all slowly turning into like cartoon characters. We're just going to be digital versions of ourselves when it's all over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that.
Or are we going to go back to like the era of no technology? Like, we're so sick of our phones and Zoom that like we are going to just call each other on a phone with a cord, or we're going to talk to each other in our faces.
Yeah,
yes.
We're gonna write letters about how things are out on the how are things out on the prairie.
I don't know what's going to happen at the end of it, but we're going to do another live stream. At least I can tell you about that. It'll be us. We're not cartoon characters yet, but we're going to be live at 2:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as a cast and bring you some Radio Theology. If you want to join us on that live stream, just go follow Radio Theology at radiotheology.com, and we'll be live streaming every day, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30. And hopefully we'll still be us and not cartoon characters. Stick with us. It's Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Are you a teacher or are you a mom? Can you be both? Well, you're trying to. Welcome back to the quarantine version of Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music.
Lisa's Pieces.
Coming to you from our closets at our home. If things sound a little bit different, that's why, but we're still glad to be able to be with you this morning. And Lisa, do you have something cooked up for us about trying to balance being a mom and a teacher with the all of the homeschooling we're doing now?
Oh, you know I do. And you know what? I heard the best phrase the other day, which was, we're not homeschooling. This is not homeschooling. This is crisis schooling, right? Homeschooling is something that you choose for whatever reason you choose it. You are choosing it. This is crisis schooling, and I am not here for it. And I'm going to tell you that because I have the luxury of having a 5.5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and so we're doing pre-K stuff. We're not having to do the mandatory e-learning and all of that stuff. So I'm not talking to the moms who are doing e-learning as much as I'm talking to the moms of littles in pre-K and all of that stuff, because I had this moment the other day where I was like, you know what? I am going to be the best preschool teacher my girl has ever seen. I'm going to kill this game, and I can do this. You know, I can do circle time, and I can do arts and crafts, and right? And so, like, Monday morning we get up, and I'm like, ta-da! It's time for school. And It was, let's see how long it was. Maybe 15 minutes, maybe less, before I was in tears. Josie was disinterested already, and Calvin had gone into the playroom to look for a book and instead took his diaper off and pooped on the floor. And so I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I'm like, maybe there's a reason why I am not a preschool teacher right now. You know, I could do that by trade. I could choose to be a preschool teacher. There's a reason I'm not.
Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. I think you're right, Lisa. I think God has your calling is clear. You're not going to be a pre-K teacher when the quarantine is over. But can you still be a mom?
Yes, well, and that's the thing that I realized at the end of that day, trying so hard to be the pre-K teacher and the mom, and oh yeah, I work full time, and oh yeah, I work part time, and trying to be everything to everyone. I lay in bed that night going, I was probably the worst version of myself because I couldn't commit to being even who I actually am. And so that would be my encouragement to you, no matter if you're trying to do e-learning or working from home or both, is just to be who you are. Lean into the connection you have with your kids and your family before you lean into their education. Everybody's going to be fine. There's remedial courses. There's all sorts of stuff we can do to catch everybody up, but nothing is going to replace this time that we can be using to build connection with our kids instead of tearing it down, trying to teach them math.
I love it. I love it. Listen, you need encouragement like that if you're a mom, and Lisa's got a group of thousands of moms gathering online at IamMotherOfTheYear.com. Head over there, connect with her and all the moms, and I love it. It's great advice this morning right here on Radio Theology. Sometimes you read a news story, and the only 3 words you can say are, Lord have mercy. Goodness gracious, guys. Welcome back to Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. And, guys, we are quarantined, but stupid human things never stop. And so we've got 3 great stories for you right here. Let's jump in. Ryan, what do you got?
Well, guys, we're going to Miami, Florida. There's a neighborhood there called Coconut Grove that is known for its laid-back bohemian feel and its overabundance of peacocks roaming around the neighborhood.
Wow.
And here's what's crazy. I'm learning a lot about peacocks with this story. It's mating season right now.
Uh-oh.
And the male peacocks are getting really aggressive, and they're taking it out on they're taking it out on people's cars. So if you've got a dark car and a male peacock goes up to it and it's mating season, guess what? That male peacock sees itself in your fender and just goes crazy on your car. Okay. So these residents of Miami are getting terrorized by peacocks that are just trying to find a lady friend. And so apparently when they're in the mating season 2, they like do a lot of screeching. Like it's one guy quoted, he goes, "It sounds like someone was being murdered in my apartment at 3 a.m. and it was a peacock." So the city council is grouping a bunch of them together and taking them to a bird wildlife sanctuary. But can you even imagine 3 o'clock in the morning and you hear some screeching sound and you look out and your car's destroyed? You probably just said, "Lord, have
mercy."
mercy.
Goodness gracious. Lisa, what do you got?
Okay, we're going to England where this guy, he for his 32nd birthday, he wanted to run a marathon. Well, hello, we're in quarantine. And so he said, you know what? If one of my Twitter messages receives 10,000 retweets, I'm going to run a marathon in my backyard. And it did. And so he started out this week doing, he has a 20-foot backyard. 20 feet.
What?
So he ran his yard 7,000 times to reach a full marathon. And the whole time he did this in just over 5 hours, and he had raised more than $22,000 for Britain's National Health Service to help battle the coronavirus. So it's really an awesome story. But
Wow.
I could tell you from having run a marathon through the city of Chicago, that was hard enough, but going back and forth in my yard 7,000 times would have been an absolute no-go, and it would have had me saying, Lord have
mercy.
mercy.
I got one, guys. We're going to Texas. This is a true tragedy. There was a semi truck cruising down the highway on Interstate 20, got in a crash, rolled over, and its precious cargo caught on fire. And by precious cargo, I mean right now the most precious cargo in all of America. That's right. It was full of toilet paper.
No.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
What are we going to do?
Oh, my gosh. The video of this is crazy. It's just going up in flames. And, I mean, I'm sure when the cops got there, everybody began crying when they realized all the toilet paper there's no way to save it. It was gone. It was burning.
It's a literal hot commodity.
Nice. Well played, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for them and all the teepee that was broken, that was burned, that was lost in this terrible, terrible tragedy, we say a heartfelt, Lord
have mercy.
In the quarantine, Lisa has discovered her daughter is a chef. Let's talk about it. Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa. Lisa, little Josie, she's a chef. Does she got a chef hat? She's chefing it up. She's Chef Boyardee.
She is doing all of those things. I need to get her a chef hat. She has been wearing my apron, though, so that's been really cute. But this morning, I heard her and Cal up early, and I stayed in bed just to see what would happen. And what had happened was she came into my room, turned on the light, and I'm like, ah! She said, "Mom, I made you breakfast in bed." And I said, "Oh, honey, thank you." It was a cold waffle straight from the freezer. One goldfish. One. And this is my favorite part. She's discovered her love for crunchy spaghetti noodles, like the uncooked spaghetti noodles. So she got one spaghetti noodle and put 2 veggie straws on it and asked me specifically to eat it like a shish kebab. You know, she's like, I'm like trying to pull the veggie straw off. She's like, no. You got to take a bite in the middle. And I'm like, okay. So that was
Oh my gosh.
that was my breakfast this morning. But
that's amazing.
It was. She was so proud of herself, though. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, thank you so much. So then by the time I went downstairs, I saw the rest of the adventure that she and Cal called their breakfast, which was all over the floor and all over the pantry and whatever. But I'm like, she was so proud. And she's like, Mom, I made myself breakfast and I made Calvin breakfast. And we had veggie straws with pepper on it because I thought that would be delicious. And I'm like, oh boy, veggie straws for breakfast. But I'm like, you know what? You're fed, aren't you? And she's got a little bit more self-confidence. So I don't think she's ready maybe for, Disney's, next chef or whatever. But for now, And did I eat that frozen waffle? No, I did not. I snuck it back into the freezer when she wasn't looking.
Oh my gosh, it's Radio Theology, a weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa. And Lisa, I love it. I love that she got creative. She tried. And here's the deal. If there's anything we need to extend each other in this quarantine, it's, I think, the ability to be creative and the ability to extend grace to each other, right? I mean, little Josie was just doing the best she could. She was trying something new, which I think is awesome. But can you imagine if you had just like totally blasted her for like, hello, the freaking waffle's frozen, you know?
Right. Yes, she would
would've
never done this again.
No, she would have never tried again. So I love it. If you get breakfast in bed this week and it consists of a frozen waffle, hard spaghetti, and some veggie straws, put a big smile on your face and encourage the creativity. And if your husband or wife does something really, really stupid as well, maybe extend them some grace as well, because Lord knows we all need it in this time of quarantine. Hang in there. We love you. We're so glad to be with you this morning right here on Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Welcome back to Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music, the quarantine edition. Thanks for joining us. We're recording from our closets at home, but we're still glad to be with you this morning. And it's time for a segment we call Ask a Pastor. I am actually a real pastor. And what do we got, Lisa?
This one comes straight from my closet to your closet.
All right, bring it on.
So over this past weekend, I was feeling really, really lonely. I have had quite the transition moving to quarantine, and I let loneliness really get the best of me, even to the point of rejecting some of the technology, because I'm like, this is just giving me a taste of it and I can't get the real thing. And I was so sad. I lost my mind. I had a real problem keeping some emotional control, which is already a challenge for me. So put me in quarantine and keep me away from my people, and we've got
danger.
Quite the situation. And so then I started thinking, like, and people pass this around like, God's enough for you and God's enough for everything, and I'm like sitting there going, well, God is not enough for me right now, because God is not hugging me, like God's not, letting me go out and, us sitting as a team together in a radio studio and all of that stuff that usually brings me lots of life. God is not enough for me in that. So that's kind of my situation. What do you have to say to me?
So would the question boil down to, what do I do and it feels like God's not enough?
Yeah. If I'm lonely and I know God's near to me, but I don't feel like that's enough. Yeah.
Well, and I would say this, and this may sound like heresy, but I don't think it is God isn't enough by himself. And you may be like, oh my gosh, Pastor Daron just said God's not enough. But here's the reality is that God himself, like when he created, the Genesis story is when God created Adam, he created everything, right? He created the trees and the planets and everything. And he was like, man, this is all great. And then he created Adam, and then he said, you know what? It's not good. It's not good for the man to be alone. So he created Eve, right? And so in that moment, life was perfect. It was God with Adam, the animals, everything. Creation was perfect. And God said, this is not enough. It's not enough for just the man to be with me and the animals. He needs relationship. And the reason that we need relationship, at least the reason you need a relationship, is because we're created in God's image, and God in himself is a relationship, right? The Father, Son, Holy Spirit, we kind of forget about that, but God is in a relationship within himself, and as we're created in his image, we need each other. And so, it's not disrespectful to say that God is not enough. God himself has said it's not enough for it just to be you and me. We need people. So Lisa, don't shame yourself or feel bad. Or if you guys are listening and maybe you felt that way, don't feel bad. What's actually happening is God's actual presence, his actual image that's created in you is calling out and saying, I was made for relationship. And it's a challenge right now to actually have face-to-face relationships, right? You can't hug people, all that, but do everything you can to stay in relationship with everyone around you. FaceTime them, call them, do whatever you can, wave each other through the window or whatever you can do. But God by himself isn't enough, because he's created us for love and for one another. So great question. Tough stuff, Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you.
Stick with us. It's Radio Theology right here on 99.5 ZPL. Is the COVID-19 quarantine turning you into your dog? Question mark.
What?
It's Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa. This would be a great time to add us on social media. Just search Radio Theology. We're putting out live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30. We'd love to hang out with you throughout the week. But Lisa, you said this week you found yourself acting kind of like your dog.
Oh, for sure. And maybe not my dog, but I pictured myself mainly as like a golden retriever, like the happiest family dog that there ever was. Because I was lonely this week and struggling, missing all my people. I'm a face-to-face kind of girl, and I was dropping something off in our playroom, which faces the street, and Ryan here lives in my neighborhood. And so when I glanced out the window, he was walking by with his son Gus, and I was like, "Wah!" And I lost my mind. If I had a tail, it would have been wagging, okay? I could not get the front door open fast enough, and I was like, "Ah!" Like exploded out onto the front porch going, "You guys, hey!" And Gus scared to death, probably. Like, he knows me, but he's like, he doesn't know that side of me. Who's this crazy lady? Yeah. But I was so excited because I'm like, people, there's a person.
Now we understand. We now understand why our dogs get so excited when people come by, right? Because they're in our house all day long. They can't go out. I like that, Lisa. If you had a tail, it would have been wagging. That's beautiful. It's Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith.
It was pretty awesome.
Love and music. Pastor Daron here with Ryan and Lisa. And, it's such a good reminder, Lisa, of just how much joy our relationships bring us. And, I guess we've got to search for any kind of positive through this time. But maybe we've gotten to a place where you've taken your relationships for granted. And maybe this is just a time to reset and know how important the people you love are. And, we could be a lot worse things than a really happy golden retriever when our friends walk past our front door.
That's right, exactly. Just wait till we get out of quarantine. It is like full-fledged, maybe Clifford the Big Red Dog. I don't know.
Ryan?
Oh, boy.
Ryan?
Just warn me next time.
Just know
listen,
I cannot be trusted.
If the first time we see Lisa, she tries to come and lick our face, we will not stand for it.
Yeah, I'm fine with licking the face. Just don't sniff my butt, okay?
Deal.
It's April 5th, 2020, and happy Palm Sunday. Although, if you're like me, it doesn't seem like there's all that much to be happy about this Sunday. The whole world is shut down because of the coronavirus, and we're stuck at home, or I guess, to put it more positively, we're safe at home. But it is Palm Sunday, and as I reflect upon this fact, I thought about what that week must have been like for the 12 disciples. I guess the week started out pretty awesome. With the parade, right? Who doesn't love a good parade? Jesus comes in, cruising on a donkey. Everybody's screaming out, "Hosanna, Hosanna. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." It's a pretty nice greeting. And I like to imagine that maybe the disciples are like just kind of walking behind Jesus and his donkey, and they're like waving at the people, maybe giving the little like kind of double gun points at everybody. I don't know. I like to think maybe they're throwing candy out to the kids or something. Yeah, it was a big time. But things start getting a little weird on Monday. They follow Jesus to the temple, and he starts flipping tables over, and he constructs a whip and starts driving animals out of the temple, and he's yelling at people, and it's just kind of a freaky scene, and it wasn't very popular. It made a lot of people angry, and I'm sure at this point the disciples are starting to get pretty confused about what is going on. By Thursday, it just gets worse. Jesus is betrayed and arrested, and all the disciples desert him. And then there's Friday, as they watch him be beat and crucified and die. What a terrible week. And I think what stands out to me most is that through the entirety of the week, Jesus is composed. He's not freaked out. He's in total control. And I think it's because of this. I think it's because Jesus was in the past. He was in control of the present, and he was about to create the future. Nothing happened that week that surprised Jesus. No circumstance threw him for a loop because he had been around since the creation of the world. He has seen everything good and everything bad that has ever happened in the history of this universe. He was in the past, so this present moment didn't shake him. And Jesus was in control of the present. With his eternal perspective, he was able to stay in control and present in every circumstance of the week. And even when things looked unbelievably bleak, maybe even dark and hopeless, Jesus was still in control. And even on Friday, when he was crucified and died, it seemed like everything had gone wrong. Jesus was actually in the process of creating the future. This Palm Sunday and this coming Easter, it'll probably be one that we'll never forget, because we won't be at church and there'll be no Easter dresses and there's no palm branches today. You'll be at home and probably like all of us wondering what happens next in our world. Let me encourage you this morning with what must have been really encouraging to the disciples on Easter Sunday morning, was when they realized that through this whole process, Jesus was in the past, he was in control of the present, and he was creating the future. Put your trust in Jesus, friend. He's not freaked out by what's going on in our world. He's in control, and he is creating a future full of faith, hope, and love. This is Pastor Daron Earlywine, and that's been your Palm Sunday Radio Theology Thought of the Day.
So good, and just the encouragement that I needed to get through another moment of quarantine. Thank you, Pastor Daron.
Doing my best in my closet to bring you all the faith, hope, and love. Guys, it's been such a joy to hang out with you this morning, and we will be live streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 on radiotheology.com. We'd love for you to follow us there, and we can hang out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Ryan, when they hang out with us, we're going to remind them of three things. The same things we remind them every week. What are they?
God is near them, not far from them. He is for them, not against them, and he has created them on purpose and for a purpose.
You've nailed it, my friend. Listen, we love you. We can't wait to talk to you tomorrow at 2:30 on Facebook Live. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Stay encouraged, stay safe, stay home, and we'll talk to you soon right here on Radio Theology, your weekly dose of faith, hope, love, and music.